Good morning everybody, and welcome to my quiz help video for today, in which I'm going to give you a hand on today's first math quiz for the school year. Related to today's math lesson, Unit 1, Lesson 4, Using Grouping Symbols Part D, which is all about using what's called your Special Order of Operations, or PEMDAS skills, or perhaps you've heard Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, in order to help you evaluate expressions or math problems that contain many different types of math mixed together. Now, I'm giving this help today, of course, because I know we've not been able to have proper math classes yet this year, and so I do want to make sure you can get some support from me in some way. So watching this video may help you out, because we are going to be looking at 5 different problems, either lifted straight from the quiz today, or at least will be very, very similar to the ones you'll see on the quiz today. Either way, if you follow along with me, you're going to have the skills you need to get that mastered score, okay? So let's go and get straight to it. So you'll see that for each problem, I have a version that I call I do, and then I have a version over here that is labeled you do. The I do, of course, is the one I'll show you the steps for. The you do is one where you can perhaps try this example yourself as after watching how I do things over here, okay? So do the you do if you like the extra practice. Otherwise, you can just follow along with me, okay? So the I do that I'm going to show you for this first problem is 27 plus 4 times, and then 8 minus 4 in a special set of symbols right there that we call parentheses. So when looking at a problem like this, you'll notice it's got a lot of different types of math mixed together. You got a plus sign there, you got a multiplication sign there, we got a subtraction sign, we got these parentheses symbols. So you might ask yourself, all right, in order to get the correct answer here, what do I have to do first? Or what order do I have to do those different types of math in? Does the order matter? Will I still get the same answer anyway? Truth is, everybody, there is a special order you must do the steps in order to get the right answer. And I will tell you what you should not do. We are not necessarily going to start from the beginning and say, oh, okay, well 27 plus 4 comes first, so maybe I got to do that part first and get 31. Not correct. If you start doing that, you're not going to get the correct answer. So back up, and instead, to figure out what order we have to do those steps in, we must refer to this special word that was mentioned at the beginning, this special 6-letter word that we call PEMDAS. Now again, you may have also heard this cute little ditty here, Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. Either way, if you look at the first letter of each word, please is the letter P, excuse is the letter E, M is the word my starts with the letter M, dear is the letter D, aunt is the letter A, Sally is the letter S. Either way, PEMDAS. Those are the 6 letters to remember in that order. Now what does PEMDAS help us remember? Simply put, it helps us to remember the order in which we are supposed to do the steps in the problem in order to arrive at the correct answer or correct evaluation. So taking the letters one step at a time. First letter in PEMDAS is the letter P. And what that tells us is, step 1 for any given problem to solve means we have to do what is in the parentheses and other grouping symbols first. Parentheses and other grouping symbols first, always. As for the letter E, that stands for exponents, but that's not something we're going to be concerned with this year, so we can skip that for now. That means we can skip right to the next set of 2 letters, which is the M and the D. What those tell us is that after anything in parentheses is done first, we must then do any of the multiplying and dividing that we see, multiplication and division. And lastly, once multiplication and division are done, that leads to the final set of letters, the A and the S, which of course stand for add and subtract. So that is the order we must do things in, folks. Parentheses first, then multiplying and dividing, then adding and subtracting last, always. So if we follow that special set of steps here, for this first sample problem, 27 plus 4 times, and then in parentheses, 8 minus 4. Remember folks, we're not just starting with the 27 plus 4, because after all, PEMDAS steps require that anything in parentheses comes first. After all, that is why the PEMDAS, the first letter is the letter P, parentheses and other grouping symbols first. That means in this problem, we must first do 8 minus 4 in parentheses. So 8 minus 4, of course, is 4. Which means we can bring down the remaining steps there, 27 plus 4 times 4. Our expression is now one step shorter and one step closer to being correct. So with that, the parentheses step has now been solved. We can go ahead and cross that out, which means we can move on to the next step, which is the m and the d for multiply and divide. So if we look at our expression as it is written now, 27 plus 4 times 4. Again, you may be tempted to say, well, 27 plus 4 looks like it comes first when I read this problem left to right, so maybe I'd do 27 plus 4, but no, we still don't do that yet. Remember folks, adding and subtracting is always done last, according to PEMDAS steps. Multiplying and dividing must be done before that, which means we actually have to do, if we are following the steps correctly, the 4 times 4 multiplication next. So 4 times 4, my friends, if you know your times tables, you remember that is 16. 4, 8, 12, 16. So that means if we bring the 27 plus down, our final step now is just going to be the adding. After all, the multiplying and dividing is now done. We can cross that out. The A and the S in PEMDAS, add and subtract, comes last. 27 minus 16 means just that bit of that bit of addition, adding is the last bit to do. 27 plus 16, if you do that correctly, which you may know how to do perhaps like this, if it helps. 27 plus 16, 7 plus 6 is 13, carry the 1, 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. Therefore, the correct answer to this problem today is 43. So remember guys, PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, is the key to remembering your correct order of operations, everybody. So at this time, if you'd like to try the you-do real quick, you can pause the video and give it a go. Remember the key, everybody, as stated, is PEMDAS. So remember your steps. In the word PEMDAS, the letter P comes first for parentheses. So make sure you do the 10 minus 2 first, okay? 10 minus 2 first. Whatever that is, get that answer. Then be sure to bring down the 18 plus 3 times, and then whatever that is. Once you solve what's in the parentheses, multiply and divide is next. That means the next step you'll do is the multiplication 3 times whatever that answer was when you did the 10 minus 2 in parentheses. 3 times that number. Be sure to get that one. Which will leave just the adding and subtracting step last. 18 plus that answer you got from the previous step, that will be your final answer, okay? So take a moment to solve that if you feel you can go ahead and do it. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the next problem, all right? Okay. Next problem. Very similar to the one we just did, which means this time we're going to go a little faster, okay? This time we got 3 plus 2 times, in parentheses, 8 minus 5 plus 6. Once again, folks, the key is PEMDAS. Remember the order that we have to do things in. First letter of PEMDAS is P, which reminds us parentheses and other grouping symbols must be done first. That means in this problem, we do have a set of parentheses right there, and inside those parentheses is 8 minus 5. Therefore, that is the first step we must do, 8 minus 5, which is 3. Bring everything else down, the 3 plus 2 times that 3 we just got, and then I'll bring the plus 6 down as well. Okay, parenthesis step is done. Exponents we are not worried about today, so that means we can go on to the next step after that, which is the m and the d, multiply and divide. Our expression now reads 3 plus 2 times 3 plus 6. We do have a multiplication sign in there. Specifically here, the 2 times 3. That means that is the next step to do. 2 times 3, which is 6. Bring everything else down. We got the 3 plus there, and we got the plus 6 here. Our expression now reads 3 plus 6 plus 6. No more multiplication or division. That step is now done. Last step, add and subtract. That's all we have left. So it should be pretty simple. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 6 more is 15. So there's our final answer today. For example number 2. Once again, if you want to try the you do over here yourself, make sure you do the parentheses first. 18 minus 2 gets you what? By the way, it's good to perhaps write this down on a piece of paper. I trust you're doing that if you are choosing to do these yourself. Bring everything else down. Next step, of course, is your multiply and divide. That's going to mean doing 3 times whatever that number was you got when you did 8 minus 2. 3 times that, what is that? Be sure to bring everything else down. The 4 plus, and then the plus 4. And then lastly, of course, is your add and subtract. So 4 plus whatever that number is, plus 4. If you do that correctly, that should get you your final answer down there. So if you feel inclined, go ahead and pause the video, give that a try. And at this point, let's now go ahead and move on to the next problem in 3, 2, 1. All right. This time around, again, we're going to follow very similar steps today, but you'll notice something very different in this problem here. We do have a set of parentheses like we saw in the previous 2 problems, with 6 plus 8 inside of them. However, you'll notice that outside of those parentheses is a new set of grouping symbols that almost kind of look like squiggly parentheses. These ones are called braces, everybody, braces. So you may be wondering, all right, well, if we have parentheses and we have a set of braces, another set of grouping symbols outside of those, then how are we going to tackle this part? The truth is, everybody, very simply, the P in PEMDAS, remember, stands for parentheses and other grouping symbols first. That means, even if we have braces in there, we are still going to do the parentheses first, everyone. So it still stands true that the 6 plus 8 in parentheses will be the first step. So we will do that first, 6 plus 8, which is 14. Now, I just need to be careful that when I start bringing all the other steps down to the next row, the 44 minus, I'm going to bring down the braces into the next step as well. So I'm going to draw that outer brace right there. I'm going to make sure to bring down the divided by 2, and then bring down that outer brace right there. So now we have 14 divided by 2 in the braces there. And of course, can't forget that times 3. Now remember, step 1 still says parentheses and other grouping symbols. That means that we are still working with those grouping symbols, the braces. So that means the 14 divided by 2 inside those will still be the next step, which 14 divided by 2, if you recall, is 7. From there, we'll bring down the remaining steps. Grouping symbols are all taken care of, so I don't need to carry those down anymore. Our expression is now simply 44 minus 7 times 3. And since there's no more grouping symbols, I can cross that step out. Exponents we're not worrying about today. That means multiplying and dividing is next. 44 minus 7 times 3. We got multiplication right there. 7 times 3. That's done next, which is 21. So multiply and divide is good. That leaves just the add and subtract last, which if I bring down the 44 minus, that means our final step is going to be 44 minus 21, which, if done correctly, should get you 23. And there we go. There's our answer. So once more, if you'd like to try the you do on your side, remember, parentheses first. Even though we have braces in this problem as well, you're still going to do the parentheses first, which means you will do the 18 plus 12 first. So get that answer. Carry everything else down. 48 minus outer brace, beg your pardon. Whatever the 18 plus 12 is should go there. Divided by 6, outer brace, and then the times 2. Next step should be to now complete what is inside the braces. So whatever that number is divided by 6, make sure to solve that next. Bring down your next steps, your 48 minus, and then your times 2. Next step, of course, now that your parentheses and braces are all taken care of, is going to be your multiplication. So whatever that number is times 2, do that next. And of course, lastly, adding and subtracting is always done last. 48 minus whatever that number is should get you your final answer there. So I'll give you a moment to pause the video and see if you can work that out. Otherwise, we are now moving on to the fourth question in 3, 2, 1. All right, last one, everybody. Well, at least the last problem of this type. There's one more we'll look at after this, but it's going to be a little different. We'll address that when we get there. For now, everybody, we once again have a problem that features parentheses, but this time features yet another type of grouping symbol. These are the ones that we call brackets. So they're kind of like braces, but they're more square-shaped rather than squiggly. Either way, we're going to treat the braces exactly the same way as we treated the braces, okay, in the previous problem. So that's going to be no different. In fact, the only thing that may be a little different this time is that when we tackle what's inside the parentheses first, we have 9 plus 15 divided by 5. So remember, everybody, even inside a set of parentheses, PEMDAS steps will still apply. And according to PEMDAS steps, if we have addition and division mixed together in the same problem, which one do we do first? Well, according to PEMDAS steps, the D in PEMDAS comes before the A, right? That means division must be done before adding. Therefore, in 9 plus 15 divided by 5, it still stands that we have to do the division first. The division first. Multiply and divide is always done before add and subtract. So we do 15 divided by 5 first, which is 3. Now we can bring the 9 plus down. And to finish off with those parentheses, we can now do 9 plus 3, which is 12. All right. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that. At this point, let's bring all the other steps down. We got the 46 minus. Let's not forget we have brackets now this time. So we're going to bring that outer bracket. Everything in the parentheses has been condensed down to the number 12. So we'll just be sure to bring down the times 3 and then the outer bracket there. There we go. All right, next step. Remember, we're still working on our grouping symbols. We may be done with the parentheses, but there's still the brackets left to take care of, which means we still got to do that 12 times 3 inside of those brackets next, which, if you remember your 12 times tables, will get you 36. 12 times 3 is 36. That leaves the only remaining step as 46 minus 36. Parentheses and grouping symbols are done. No exponents. Multiply and divide. Well, there is no multiply and divide in this problem anymore, so we can skip that step as well. The only thing left is the add and subtract. 46 minus 36, that is subtraction. If done correctly, that should get you the final answer of 10. So there it is, everybody. Following those PEMDAS steps, doing what's in the parentheses first, then doing what's inside those brackets, following up with the final subtraction. So if you want to give it a try with the you do over here, once again, parentheses first, and make sure that when you're working on what's inside those parentheses, we have 4 plus 2 times 3. PEMDAS rules still say that multiplication, 2 times 3, has to be done before adding, okay? So 2 times 3 first. So whatever that is, make sure you get that down. And then still working with what's in these parentheses, make sure you do 4 plus whatever that number is, and then get that answer, okay? From there, bring down your remaining steps. We got the 32 minus, and then the outside bracket. And then over here on this side of the parentheses, which are now taken care of, times 2, and then outer bracket. Once you got this, still working on what's inside the brackets there. So that number times 2, whatever that is, make sure you get that down. which means your final step will be 32 minus whatever that number is, and that should get you your final answer. So take a moment to work that out. If you choose to pause the video and give it a try, go ahead. Otherwise, there's just one final very simple problem we'll look at together, which we will take a look at now in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so this type of problem is very different from the ones we were just looking at, but it's going to be very quick and simple. It's something that may be new for you, so I want to make sure everybody understands this. What it's asking us is, which expression is equal to the fraction 7/8? 7/8. Hopefully you learned about fractions in 4th grade last year, and we know that that fraction is 7/8. So of the 4 possible choices we have, we're asked, is the fraction 7/8 equal to 8 divided by 7, 7 divided by 8, 7 minus 8, or 8 minus 7? Now the simple way to explain this is this. Fractions, everybody, can always be read as what's on top divided by what's on bottom. Top divided by bottom, okay? So for example, the fraction 1/2. Number on top is 1. The fraction bar in the middle can always be read as divided by, and then there's a number on bottom, which means the fraction 1/2 can actually be read or written as 1 on top divided by what's on bottom, which is 2. So 1 divided by 2. Imagine a cake being cut into 2 pieces, right? One cake divided into 2 pieces means the pieces you get are equal to 1/2. Similar example, if we said, for instance, the fraction 5/6. The number on top is 5, the numerator. The fraction bar can be read as a division sign, and what's on bottom, the 6, would come second. Therefore, the fraction 5/6 can be read as the division problem, 5 divided by 6. So if you're recognizing the pattern, we should be able to apply that down here. Which expression is equal to the fraction 7/8? Remember, what's on top, 7, divided by is what the fraction bar can be read as, and then what's on bottom, 8. Therefore, we can read the fraction 7/8 as the division problem, 7 divided by 8, which means the correct answer is B, 7 divided by 8. So once again, if you want to try this one yourself, don't have to write it down perhaps, just do it in your head. Which expression is equal to the fraction 8/11? Top divided by bottom. Is it A, 8 divided by 11, B, 11 divided by 8, C, 11 minus 8, or D, 8 minus 11? I trust if you followed along and recognize the pattern, we should be able to figure this one out and get it correct on your quiz today, okay? And so with that, that was a selection of 5 problems, either straight from your quiz or very similar to the ones you'll see on your quiz today. Hopefully this video helped you out. If you still need a hand even with this, you can request a one-on-one today, okay? Otherwise, go for those 80%, folks. I'm sure you're going to do a great job. Take care. Have a great one. I will follow up with you tomorrow. Take care. Goodbye.